The December wind cut through the thin fabric wrapped around Simone Jefferson's shoulders, but she clutched it tighter anyway. The quilt, worn and faded with patches of blue, green, and maroon fabric stitched together by her grandmother's loving hands 40 years ago, was the only thing between her and complete emptiness. Her fingers, numb from the cold, gripped the edges as she sat on the concrete sidewalk outside a closed bakery, her back pressed against the brick wall. "Give me that dirty rag," the voice above her demanded. Simone looked up to see a man in a gray uniform, his face twisted with disgust. He was the building's night custodian, and he'd been telling her to move along for the past hour. "You're making the place look bad. That thing is filthy." "Please," Simone's voice cracked, hoarse from hours of crying in the cold. "Please don't take the cloth off. It's all I have. It's my grandmother's. Please." The man reached down, his thick fingers grasping the corner of the quilt. "I said move along. We don't want your kind here." Simone held on with strength she didn't know she had left. The quilt began to tear at the seams, and she let out a sob that echoed down the empty street. "No, please. Please don't. I'm begging you. Let go of the rag, lady." "It's not a rag," Simone cried, her voice breaking. "It's my grandmother's quilt. She made it. She's gone now. Please, it's all I have left of her. I have nothing else. Nothing. Please." The man pulled harder and Simone felt the fabric ripping. She couldn't let go. She wouldn't. This quilt had covered her as a baby. It had been on her bed through childhood. Her grandmother had stitched every patch with prayers for her future. When her grandmother passed 5 years ago, this quilt was her inheritance, more valuable than any money because it was made with love. The sound of a car door closing made both of them freeze. Footsteps approached, confident and quick. A voice, deep and commanding but not harsh, spoke clearly in the night air. "Stop. Let her go." Simone looked up through tears to see a tall man in a navy blue suit approaching. His brown skin glowed under the streetlight, and his expression was serious but not angry. He looked at the custodian with an intensity that made the other man step back immediately. "Sir, I was just asking her to move along," the custodian stammered, releasing the quilt. "Then you asked. She didn't move. That's her choice. This is a public sidewalk," the man in the suit said calmly. "Walk away now." The custodian muttered something under his breath and walked back into the building, leaving Simone alone with the stranger. She wrapped the quilt tighter around herself, suddenly aware of how she must look. Her hair, usually neat and styled, was tangled and unwashed. Her clothes, a green sweater and jeans that had once fit properly, now hung loose on her frame. She'd lost weight, not by choice but by necessity. She hadn't eaten a full meal in 3 days. The man in the suit knelt down slowly, carefully, as if approaching a frightened animal. His dark eyes met hers with such kindness that Simone felt fresh tears spring up. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. Simone shook her head, not trusting her voice. "My name is Harrison Blake," he said. "I own a company not far from here. I was driving home when I saw what was happening. May I ask your name?" "Simone," she whispered. "Simone Jefferson." "Simone, when did you last eat?" The question was so direct, so caring that Simone couldn't lie. "Tuesday," she said. Today was Friday. Harrison's jaw tightened, but his eyes remained soft. "Will you let me help you? Please?" Simone wanted to say no. She wanted to have pride. But pride was a luxury she could no longer afford. She looked down at the quilt in her hands, at her grandmother's careful stitches, and she thought about what her grandmother would say. Her grandmother, who always taught her to accept kindness when it was offered with a good heart, who said that refusing help was just another form of pride, and pride kept people alone. "Yes," Simone said softly. "Yes, please. Thank you." Harrison smiled, and it transformed his whole face. "Thank you for trusting me. Can you stand? My car is right there. It's warm." He offered his hand and Simone took it. Her legs were stiff from sitting in the cold for so long and she stumbled slightly. Harrison caught her elbow gently, steadying her. He didn't comment on how thin she'd become or how badly she smelled from days without showering. He simply guided her toward a sleek black car parked at the curb. The interior was the warmest place Simone had been in weeks. Harrison turned the heat up higher and pulled a bottle of water from the console, offering it to her. She drank slowly, savoring each sip. "Simone, I'm going to take you to a hotel. A good one where you can get cleaned up, rest and eat. Tomorrow we'll talk about what happens next. Is that okay with you?" Simone nodded, clutching the quilt in her lap. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Harrison was quiet for a moment as he pulled into traffic. "Because someone should he finally said. Because I can. And because I saw you fighting for something you love, something that matters to you, and that told me who you are. Anyone who fights that hard for a memory of love deserves someone fighting for them too. Simone closed her eyes and let the tears fall. But for the first time in months, they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of relief, of hope, of gratitude so deep it hurt. She pulled the quilt closer and whispered a prayer of thanks to her grandmother, who she believed had somehow sent this man to find her. The car moved smoothly through the city streets, carrying her away from that cold concrete sidewalk and toward something she'd thought was lost forever, a future. Have you ever been in a place so dark you couldn't see a way forward? Have you ever held on to something precious while the world tried to take it away? Simone's story is just beginning. What would you do if you were Harrison, and what would you do if you were Simone? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to follow their journey. This is a story about hope, kindness, and the kind of love that changes everything. 3 months earlier, Simone Jefferson had been a completely different person. She woke up each morning in her small but tidy apartment on the east side of the city, made coffee in her cheerful yellow kitchen, and got ready for her shift at Community General Hospital. She'd been a nurse there for 6 years, working in the pediatric ward where she could bring comfort to sick children and worried parents. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good. She had enough money to pay her bills with a little left over. She had friends at work who made her laugh during difficult shifts. She had her mother, Ruth Jefferson, who lived an hour away and called every Sunday after church. And she had her grandmother's quilt on her bed, a daily reminder of where she came from and the love that raised her. The quilt had traveled with her through college, through nursing school, through her first apartment and then her second. Each patch told a story. The blue fabric with tiny white stars came from her grandmother's church dress. The green checkered pattern was from the kitchen curtains in her childhood home. The maroon velvet piece came from a fancy dress her grandmother wore to Simone's mother's wedding. Every stitch was a memory, every patch a piece of family history. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was a Tuesday morning in September, and Simone was getting ready for work when her phone rang. Her mother's neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, was on the line, her voice shaking. "Simone, honey, you need to come quick. Your mama collapsed. The ambulance is here." Simone's world tilted. She called in sick to work, threw clothes in a bag, grabbed the quilt from her bed without thinking, and drove the hour to her mother's house faster than she ever had before. She found her mother at County Memorial, unconscious, with doctors running tests and speaking in the rapid clinical language that Simone knew too well from her own work. "Stroke," the doctor said. "Massive. We're doing everything we can." Her mother survived, but barely. The stroke left Ruth Jefferson partially paralyzed on her left side and unable to speak clearly. She needed constant care, therapy, medications, and equipment. Simone's mother had some insurance, but it didn't cover everything. The copays alone were hundreds of dollars each week. The medications were expensive. The special bed, the wheelchair, the home health aide, the therapy sessions, it all added up faster than Simone could count. Simone used her savings first. The $3,000 she'd been setting aside for a future vacation disappeared in the first month. Then she started putting expenses on credit cards, telling herself it was temporary, that her mother would get better and insurance would eventually cover more. But her mother didn't get better fast enough, and insurance denied more claims than they approved. By November, Simone was drowning. She picked up extra shifts at the hospital, working 60 and 70-hour weeks, sleeping at her mother's house and driving back to the city for work. She was exhausted all the time, running on coffee and anxiety. She stopped seeing friends. She stopped doing anything except work and worry. Then the hospital cut her hours. Budget problems, they said. Everyone was affected. Her steady 40-hour weeks became 30, then 20. Her paycheck shrank just when she needed it most. She started selling things. Her TV went first, then her laptop, then her furniture piece by piece. She moved from her apartment to a cheaper room in a house with 3 other people, a tiny space with barely enough room for a bed. But it wasn't enough. The bills kept coming. Her mother needed her care and her money, and Simone gave both until there was nothing left. The credit cards maxed out. The medical bills went to collections. The debt grew like a living thing, consuming everything. In late November, her landlord told her she had to leave. She was 3 months behind on rent, and he couldn't wait any longer. He was kind about it, apologetic even, but firm. She had 1 week. Simone packed what little she had left into 2 garbage bags. The quilt went with her, folded carefully and wrapped in plastic to protect it. She spent the first night in her car, parked behind a grocery store. The second night, someone broke her car window and stole one of her bags. The third night, her car was towed because she'd parked illegally. With no car and no money to get it back, Simone was on the street with just one bag and her grandmother's quilt. She tried staying with friends, but they all had their own problems, their own small spaces, their own lives they were barely managing. She tried shelters, but they were full every night. She tried finding work, but no one wanted to hire someone with no permanent address and no way to stay clean. The weeks blurred together. She learned which restaurants threw out good food at the end of the night. She learned which public bathrooms were cleanest and safest. She learned which sidewalks were less likely to have police moving her along. And through it all, she kept the quilt close, refusing offers from other homeless people who wanted to trade for it or suggestions that she sell it. "It's not for sale," she always said. "It's my grandmother's." The quilt became her bed, her blanket, her pillow, and her comfort. On the hardest nights, when she was cold and hungry and scared, she wrapped herself in it and remembered her grandmother's voice singing hymns in the kitchen. She remembered Sunday dinners and family gatherings. She remembered being loved and safe and whole. By December, Simone had been on the streets for 3 weeks. She'd lost weight, lost hope, and nearly lost herself. She still called her mother's home health aide twice a week from a borrowed phone, always asking the same questions. "Is she okay? Is she eating? Does she need anything?" The aide always said yes, she's okay, but Simone heard the worry in her voice and knew her mother was asking for her, wondering where her daughter had gone. Simone couldn't tell her. She couldn't bear for her mother to know that trying to save her had cost Simone everything. So she stayed away and sent what little money she could scrape together, usually $5 or $10, whatever she could get from odd jobs or kind strangers. That Friday night in December, sitting on that cold sidewalk with the custodian trying to take her quilt, Simone had been at her absolute lowest point. She'd been ready to give up. She'd been thinking that maybe it would be easier to just let go of everything, including life itself. Then Harrison Blake stopped his car and changed everything. As Simone sat in the warm vehicle, heading toward a hotel she couldn't have afforded in her best days, she realized something important. Her grandmother used to say that God sent angels in human form when people needed them most. She'd always thought that was just a nice saying, something comforting but not literally true. Now she wasn't so sure. Because Harrison Blake, appearing exactly when she needed someone, felt very much like an answer to prayers she'd been too tired to speak out loud. The hotel Harrison took her to was beautiful, all polished marble and soft lighting. The lobby alone was warmer and cleaner than anywhere Simone had been in weeks. Harrison spoke quietly to the woman at the front desk, and within minutes Simone had a key card to a room on the 8th floor. "The room is yours for as long as you need it," Harrison said as they rode the elevator up. "Tomorrow we'll talk. Tonight just rest. There's room service. Order anything you want. Here's my card with my personal cell number. If you need anything at all, call me." Simone took the card with shaking hands. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to thank me," Harrison said. "Just promise me you'll eat something and get some sleep." "I promise." The room was perfect. Clean white sheets, a soft bed, a bathroom with hot water and little bottles of shampoo and soap. Simone stood in the shower for 20 minutes, watching dirt and despair wash down the drain. She wrapped herself in a fluffy white robe and ordered soup and bread from room service, eating slowly because her stomach had shrunk. Then she lay down on the bed with her grandmother's quilt spread out beside her, and for the first time in months, Simone Jefferson felt safe. She closed her eyes and slept deeply, dreamlessly, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges but also new possibilities. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory, "Baby girl, when kindness comes knocking, you open that door wide. You say thank you and you accept it with grace. Because kindness is how God loves us through other people." Simone had opened the door. She had accepted. And now she would see where this kindness would lead. Morning light filtered through the hotel curtains, soft and gentle, not like the harsh streetlights Simone had grown used to. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then she felt the soft mattress beneath her, saw the clean white walls and remembered. Harrison Blake. The car. The hotel. Safety. She sat up slowly, her body still aching from weeks of sleeping on concrete and in doorways. The grandmother's quilt lay folded neatly on the chair where she'd placed it before sleeping. Seeing it in this clean, beautiful room made her eyes sting with tears. The contrast between where she'd been yesterday and where she was now felt impossible. A knock on the door made her jump. "Room service," a cheerful voice called. Simone wrapped the robe tighter and opened the door to find a young woman in a maroon uniform pushing a cart laden with breakfast. Eggs, toast, fruit, orange juice, coffee. The woman smiled warmly as she wheeled it in. "Good morning. Mr. Blake called ahead and ordered breakfast for you." He said to tell you he'll be by at 10 o'clock if that's okay. Simone nodded, not trusting her voice. The woman left and Simone sat down to eat. Every bite felt like a gift. The eggs were fluffy and perfectly seasoned. The toast was warm with real butter. The coffee was hot and strong. She ate slowly, savoring each taste, her body gradually waking up to the possibility of being okay again. At exactly 10 o'clock, another knock came. Simone had showered again, dressed in the same green sweater and jeans she'd been wearing, and brushed her hair as best she could with the hotel comb. She opened the door to find Harrison standing there with 2 shopping bags. "Good morning, Simone," he said with that same gentle smile from last night. "May I come in?" She stepped back, letting him enter. He set the bags on the table and turned to face her. "I hope you slept well," he said. "Better than I have in months," Simone admitted. "Thank you. For everything. I still can't believe this is real." "It's real," Harrison assured her. "And I have a proposition for you. But first I brought you some clothes. I had my assistant pick them up this morning. Basic things, comfortable things. I hope they fit." Simone looked in the bags to find jeans, shirts, a warm red jacket, socks, underwear, all new with tags still attached. Her throat tightened with emotion. "I can't accept all this," she started to say, but Harrison held up a hand. "Simone, I'm going to be very direct with you. You can accept this and you should. I have the resources to help and you need help. There's no shame in that. My mother used to tell me that refusing help when you need it is just pride wearing a different coat. Don't let pride keep you cold." The mention of his mother made Simone pause. "You said last night that you understood about medical bills." Harrison's expression grew serious. He sat down in one of the chairs and gestured for Simone to sit as well. "My mother died 6 years ago," he said quietly. "Cancer. She fought for 2 years and I spent every penny I had trying to save her. I was lucky because I owned my business by then and I could afford the best care. But I remember the fear. I remember watching the bills pile up. I remember the feeling of helplessness when money couldn't fix what was broken." "I'm sorry," Simone said softly. "I tell you this because I want you to understand that I know what it's like to watch someone you love suffer. And I know what it's like to feel desperate. Last night, my assistant did some research. I hope you don't mind, but I had him look into your situation. I know about your mother. I know about the stroke and the bills. I know you were a nurse at Community General." Simone tensed. "That feels invasive." "I know and I apologize. But I needed to understand how to help you properly. Simone, I'm not a random stranger doing a random act of kindness. I run a company that owns 5 medical centers in this city. We employ over 3,000 people. I have resources, connections, and the ability to change your situation significantly if you'll let me." "What do you mean?" Simone asked carefully. Harrison leaned forward. "I want to offer you a job. My company has a wellness center for our employees, a place where they can get physical therapy, counseling, health screenings, all on site. We need a nurse coordinator to run the day-to-day operations. The previous coordinator retired last month, and we've been searching for the right person. I think you might be that person." Simone's heart raced. "A job. A real job. But I've been off the streets," she said. "I'm not. I haven't worked in weeks. I don't even have references anymore. Why would you trust me?" "Because you fought to keep your grandmother's quilt," Harrison said simply. "Because you called to check on your mother even when you had nothing. Because you're a trained nurse with 6 years of experience in pediatrics, which means you know how to care for people in their most vulnerable moments. That's the kind of person I want on my team." Simone felt tears threatening again. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. The job pays $60,000 a year with full benefits. I'll provide an apartment, not a gift but part of your compensation package. Many of our senior employees have company housing. You'll start next Monday, which gives you a week to get settled. You'll have time to go see your mother, to get your bearings, to breathe." It was too much. Too good. Too impossible. But Simone looked at Harrison's face and saw only sincerity and kindness. She thought about her grandmother's words about accepting grace. She thought about her mother who needed her. She thought about having a life again, a purpose, a future. "Yes," she said, the word coming out stronger than she expected. "Yes, I accept. Thank you. Thank you so much." Harrison smiled. "Good. Now let's talk about practical matters. First, the apartment. It's furnished, move-in ready. I'll have someone drive you over this afternoon so you can see it. Second, I've arranged for you to have an advance on your salary, $5,000, available today. Use it for whatever you need. Third, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Patricia Chin, who runs our medical centers. She'll be your supervisor and I think you'll like her. Simone's head spun with how quickly her life was changing. Yesterday she'd been on the street. Today she had a job, an apartment, and money. Felt like a dream. Harrison, I have to ask, why are you doing all this? I mean, I'm grateful, but this is more than just helping someone in need. This is changing my entire life. Harrison was quiet for a moment. Can I be honest with you? Please. When my mother died, I was angry. Angry at the world, at God, at everyone. I had all this money, all this success, and I couldn't save her. What was the point of having wealth if it couldn't protect the people I loved? I shut down emotionally for years. I ran my business, I made more money, but I wasn't really living. Then about a year ago, I had a conversation with a very wise woman, my mother's best friend. She told me that maybe my mother's death wasn't just tragedy. Maybe it was also a calling. Maybe I was meant to use my resources to help people in situations like yours, people drowning in medical debt through no fault of their own. He paused, his eyes distant with memory. I started a foundation quietly, no press, no fanfare. We pay medical bills for families who can't afford them. We've helped about 50 families so far. But last night when I saw you on that sidewalk fighting for that quilt, something shifted in me. I realized I'd been helping from a distance, writing checks but never really connecting. You reminded me that people aren't statistics or charity cases. You're a person with a name, a story, a grandmother who loved you, a mother who needs you. I wanted to help you not just with money but with opportunity. You deserve that. Simone wiped her eyes. Your mother would be proud of you. I hope so, Harrison said softly. And I hope my help doesn't feel like pity. It's not. It's recognition. You worked hard, you're educated, you're skilled. You just hit a rough patch that could happen to anyone. I'm giving you a hand up, not a handout. You'll earn every penny of that salary, I promise. Patricia runs a tight ship. Simone laughed through her tears. I'm not afraid of hard work. I know you're not. That's why I'm confident this will work. Harrison stood and extended his hand. Welcome to Blake Industries, Simone Jefferson. I think this is the beginning of something good. Simone stood and shook his hand firmly. I won't let you down. I know you won't. Now get dressed in your new clothes and let's go see your apartment. After that, I'll take you to get your car out of impound. Then tomorrow, if you're ready, we'll visit your mother together. I'd like to meet her. Together? Simone asked, surprised. If that's okay. I told you about my foundation. Your mother's medical bills are exactly the kind of thing we help with. I'd like to see what we can do. Simone's legs felt weak. You'd help my mother too? Of course. That's part of this, Simone. You can't work and worry about your mother at the same time. Let's handle both. This time, Simone didn't try to hold back the tears. She let them fall freely as she nodded. Okay. Yes. Thank you. I don't have better words than thank you, but please know I mean it with everything in me. I know you do, Harrison said gently. Now go get ready. Your new life starts today. Simone grabbed the bags of clothes and went to the bathroom to change. She looked at herself in the mirror, really looked. Her face was thinner than before, her eyes tired, but there was something new there too. Hope. She'd forgotten what hope looked like on her own face. She dressed in dark jeans, a soft blue shirt, and the red jacket. Everything fit perfectly. When she emerged, Harrison nodded approvingly. You look like yourself again, he said. I feel like myself again, Simone replied. Or maybe I feel like a new version of myself. Someone who knows what it's like to fall but also what it's like to be caught. That's exactly right, Harrison said. Come on. Let's go see your apartment. They left the hotel together, Simone carrying her grandmother's quilt carefully in her arms. She would never forget where she'd been, but she was ready to see where she was going. And for the first time in months, where she was going looked bright. The apartment was on the third floor of a renovated building in a quiet neighborhood near the Blake Industries main campus. Harrison led Simone up the stairs and unlocked the door to Unit 3C. When he pushed it open and gestured for her to enter, Simone gasped. Sunlight poured through large windows, illuminating a spacious living room with a comfortable gray couch, a coffee table, and a small dining set. The kitchen had modern appliances and granite countertops. Down a short hallway, she found a bedroom with a real bed, already made with fresh sheets and a thick comforter, and a bathroom with a tub and shower. It's perfect, Simone breathed, walking from room to room in amazement. It's absolutely perfect. I'm glad you like it, Harrison said from the doorway. The building is safe, the neighbors are mostly other Blake Industries employees, and you're 10 minutes from work. Your name is on the lease. It's yours for as long as you work with us. Simone set the quilt down on the bed, smoothing it out carefully. In this clean, sunlit room the quilt looked different. Not old and worn but loved and precious. It belonged here just like she belonged here. Over the next week, Simone rebuilt her life piece by piece. Harrison had been true to his word about the salary advance. With $5,000 she bought basic necessities: groceries, toiletries, dishes, towels, a few more clothes. She went to the impound lot and got her car back, paying the fees without the panic that would have consumed her a week ago. On Saturday, true to his promise, Harrison drove with her to see her mother. The whole way there Simone felt nervous. She hadn't seen her mother in 3 weeks, and she dreaded the questions, the worry she'd caused. Ruth Jefferson was sitting in her wheelchair by the window when they arrived. The home health aide, a kind woman named Beverly, let them in. The moment Ruth saw Simone, her face lit up, and she made a sound that was half word, half cry. "Mama," Simone said, kneeling beside the wheelchair and taking her mother's good hand. "I'm here. I'm okay. I'm so sorry I worried you." Ruth's eyes filled with tears. Her speech was still impaired from the stroke, but she managed to say, "Baby. My baby. Mama, this is Harrison Blake. He's my new boss. He's helped me so much." Harrison stepped forward and took Ruth's hand gently. "Mrs. Jefferson, it's an honor to meet you. You raised an incredible daughter." Ruth looked at him carefully, then at Simone, then back at him. A small smile crossed her face and she nodded slowly. They spent an hour there, with Simone telling her mother about the job, the apartment, the turn her life had taken. She didn't mention the streets or the quilt incident. There was no need to add to her mother's burden. Instead, she focused on the good, on the hope, on the future. Before they left, Harrison spoke with Beverly privately. When he returned, he handed Simone a folder. "What's this?" she asked. "Your mother's medical bills. All of them. My foundation has reviewed the case and we're covering everything. The hospital bills, the therapy, the medications, the home health care. Everything. It's taken care of." Simone stared at the folder, then at Harrison, unable to speak. Beverly, overhearing, let out a small cry of joy. "Are you serious?" Simone finally managed. "Completely serious. Your mother will continue to get the care she needs, and you won't have to worry about the cost. That's handled." Simone sank into a chair, overwhelmed. Ruth made a questioning sound, and Simone turned to her mother, tears streaming down her face. "Mama, he paid your bills. All of them. We're free. You're taken care of. Everything is okay now." Ruth's good hand flew to her mouth and she wept. Beverly wept. Simone wept. Even Harrison's eyes looked suspiciously bright. "I can't ever repay you for this," Simone said to Harrison. "I don't want repayment. I want you to work hard, help people, and live well. That's payment enough." On the drive back to the city, Simone was quiet, processing everything. Finally she spoke. "You know what the hardest part was?" she asked. "Not the hunger. Not the cold. It was the feeling that the world didn't care. That I could disappear and no one would notice. That I didn't matter." "You matter," Harrison said firmly. "You always mattered. Sometimes the world just gets too loud and busy to show people they matter. That's why we have to do it deliberately, intentionally." "Is that why you really started the foundation? To show people they matter?" "Yes. And to honor my mother, who always saw people. She never walked past someone in need. She talked to the homeless man on the corner, learned his name, buy him lunch. She taught me that every person has a story and deserves dignity." "She sounds wonderful." She was. You would have liked her. They drove in comfortable silence for a while. Then Harrison spoke again. "I want to tell you something, Simone. Monday when you start work it's going to be challenging. Patricia is a great supervisor but demanding. The wellness center serves 3,000 employees and they all have needs. You're going to be busy, probably overwhelmed at first. But I believe in you. You have the skills and the heart for this work." "I'm ready," Simone said. "I've been through worse than a demanding job." Harrison laughed. "Fair point. But seriously, if you need anything, my door is always open. Not just as your employer but as, well, as a friend, I hope." Simone looked at him, this man who'd changed her life so completely in just 1 week. "I'd like that. I'd like to be friends." "Good. Because I'm going to need someone to keep me honest. Running a company, it's easy to lose sight of what matters. You remind me what matters." Monday morning came bright and clear. Simone dressed carefully in navy slacks and a maroon blouse, both new. She packed a lunch, grabbed her bag, and drove to Blake Industries for the first time as an employee. The wellness center was a beautiful space on the second floor of the main building, with treatment rooms, a small gym, a meditation room, and offices. Patricia Chin, the director, was a petite woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a warm smile. Simone Jefferson, she said, shaking hands firmly. Harrison told me about you. Welcome to the team. I'm going to work you hard, but I'm fair and I think you're going to do great here. Thank you, Dr. Chin. I'm ready to learn. Please call me Patricia. Now let me show you around. The first day was a whirlwind of introductions, procedures, systems, and information. Simone met the other staff, 2 physical therapists, a counselor, a nutritionist, and 3 other nurses. Everyone was welcoming and professional. They showed her how to schedule appointments, process insurance, order supplies, and handle the endless paperwork that came with medical care. By the end of the day, Simone's head was spinning, but she felt energized. This was real work, meaningful work. She was helping people again. She mattered again. Harrison stopped by at 5 o'clock, just as Simone was finishing up. How was day 1? He asked. Overwhelming and wonderful, Simone said honestly. I love it already. I'm glad. Patricia told me you did great. Natural fit, she said. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. You're thanking me by showing up and doing the work. That's all I ask. He paused. Listen, some of the staff are going to get dinner down the street. Would you like to join? It's casual, just a way to get to know each other outside of work. Simone hesitated. She was tired and wanted to go home to her quiet apartment. But she also knew that building relationships mattered, that being part of a team meant showing up in more ways than one. I'd love to, she said. Dinner was at a small restaurant with good food and better conversation. Simone sat between Patricia and one of the physical therapists, a funny woman named Julie who made everyone laugh with stories about her kids. Harrison sat across the table, participating in the conversation but mostly listening, watching his employees connect. When Simone caught his eye, he smiled at her and she smiled back. A week ago, she'd been on the street. Tonight, she was sitting with colleagues, eating good food, feeling like a person with a purpose. The transformation was almost too much to believe. Later, as she drove home to her apartment, Simone thought about gratitude. Real gratitude, the kind that changes you. She'd always been polite, always said thank you, but now she understood gratitude on a deeper level. It wasn't just words. It was action. It was showing up every day and doing her best. It was paying forward the kindness she'd received. She thought about Harrison too. About the kindness in his eyes, the gentleness of his approach, the way he'd given her dignity along with help. There was something special about him, something beyond just his wealth or generosity. He was genuine. He cared. He saw her as a person, not a project. That night, Simone fell asleep in her comfortable bed, with her grandmother's quilt folded at the foot of it, and for the first time in months she dreamed happy dreams. Dreams of the future, of possibilities, of hope made real. 3 weeks into her new job, Simone had found her rhythm. She arrived at the wellness center each morning at 8, spent the day coordinating care for employees, and went home feeling tired but fulfilled. The work was challenging, exactly as Harrison had warned, but she loved it. She loved helping people navigate their health concerns, connecting them with resources, seeing them get better. Patricia had been right about working her hard. Simone often ate lunch at her desk, reviewed files in the evening, and spent weekends learning new protocols. But it felt good to be busy, to have purpose, to matter. Harrison stopped by the wellness center most days, usually mid-morning. He'd check in with Patricia, observe treatments, and chat with staff. Simone noticed he remembered everyone's names, asked about their families, and paid attention to small details. He wasn't the kind of boss who stayed distant in a corner office. He was present, engaged, and genuinely interested in his employees. One Thursday afternoon, Harrison knocked on Simone's office door. She looked up from the schedule she was organizing to find him holding 2 cups of coffee. Got a minute? He asked. Of course. Come in. He handed her one of the cups and sat down in the chair across from her desk. How are things going? Really? Really good, Simone said honestly. I feel like I'm getting the hang of things. Patricia said my patient satisfaction scores are excellent. I know. She brags about you constantly. Harrison smiled. I'm glad it's working out. But I didn't come here to talk about work. I came to ask if you'd like to have dinner with me tomorrow night. Nothing work-related. Just as friends. Simone was surprised. Oh, yes, that would be nice. Where? There's a small Italian place downtown that I love. Quiet, good food, real conversation. I'll pick you up at 7? Okay, Simone agreed, though she felt a flutter of nervousness. This felt different from the staff dinner. This felt personal. Friday evening, Simone spent longer than usual getting ready. She chose a green dress that was simple but pretty, did her makeup carefully, and styled her hair. When Harrison knocked on her apartment door at 7, She took a deep breath before opening it. He stood there in dark jeans and a blue button-down, looking handsome and relaxed. His eyes widened when he saw her. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "Thank you. You look nice too." The restaurant was exactly as he described. Small, intimate, with candles on the tables and soft music playing. They were seated at a corner table, and Harrison ordered wine while Simone looked at the menu. "Order anything you want," he said. "The pasta is incredible." They ordered, and as they waited for food, the conversation flowed easily. Harrison asked about her mother, and Simone told him that Ruth was doing better, that the physical therapy was helping, that being able to afford proper care had made all the difference. "Beverly told me last week that my mom smiled while doing therapy," Simone said. "That's huge. She hasn't been motivated before because she was depressed about the bills, about being a burden. Now she's actually trying to get better." "That's wonderful," Harrison said warmly. "See? That's the ripple effect. Helping you helped your mother, which helps Beverly do her job better, which creates a more hopeful environment. Kindness multiplies." "You really believe that?" "I do. I've seen it happen too many times to doubt it." Simone sipped her wine. "Tell me about your life, Harrison. I feel like I know you as my boss and as someone who helped me, but I don't really know you as a person. What do you do when you're not running a company or rescuing people?" Harrison laughed. "Rescuing people isn't a regular hobby. You're the first person I've literally pulled off the street." He grew more serious. "Honestly, I don't do much. I work a lot. Too much, probably. I have a nice house that I barely spend time in. I have money but no one to share it with. My life is successful but kind of empty." "That sounds lonely." "It is," he admitted. "After my mother died, I threw myself into work. It was easier than dealing with grief. But 6 years have passed and I'm still hiding in my office. That's not living. That's just existing." Simone felt a pang of sympathy. "What about friends? Family?" "A few friends from college that I see occasionally. My father passed when I was young and my mother was an only child, so no extended family. It's just me." He paused. "That's part of why I wanted to have dinner with you. You remind me what it's like to connect with someone real. Someone who's been through something hard and come out stronger." "I don't feel stronger," Simone said softly. "I feel like I'm barely holding it together some days. But you are holding it together. That's the strength. And you're doing it with grace and gratitude. That's rare." Their food arrived and they ate slowly, continuing to talk. Harrison told her about building his company from nothing, about the risks he'd taken, the mistakes he'd made, the lessons he'd learned. Simone told him about her grandmother, about the quilt and what it meant to her, about the dreams she'd had before everything fell apart. "Do you still have those dreams?" Harrison asked. "Some of them. I wanted to work in pediatrics, maybe become a nurse practitioner someday. I wanted to buy a house, have a family, live a quiet, good life. Those dreams seem both closer and farther away now." "Why farther?" "Because I know how fast everything can disappear. I'm scared to want too much in case it all gets taken away again." Harrison reached across the table and took her hand gently. "I understand that fear. But Simone, you can't let fear keep you from living. Bad things happen, yes. But good things happen too. You're living proof of that. A month ago you were on the street. Now you're here working, thriving, helping others. That's not luck. That's resilience." Simone felt tears sting her eyes. "Thank you for seeing that. Sometimes I still feel like that person on the sidewalk, clutching her grandmother's quilt and begging not to lose it. You'll always carry that experience with you. But it doesn't define you. It's part of your story, but it's not the whole story. The whole story is still being written." They finished dinner and walked slowly back to Harrison's car. The night air was cool but pleasant. Simone felt different than she had in a long time. Not just safe or stable, but happy. Genuinely happy. "Thank you for tonight," she said as Harrison drove her home. "This was really nice." "It was. Can we do it again? Maybe next week." "I'd like that." He walked her to her apartment door, and they stood there for a moment in comfortable silence. "Simone, I want to be honest with you about something," Harrison said. "I really enjoy spending time with you. Not just because I helped you or because you work for me. I enjoy it because you're interesting and kind and real. I'd like to get to know you better if you're open to that." Simone's heart beat faster. "You mean as more than friends?" "Maybe. Eventually. If it feels right. I don't want to rush anything or make you uncomfortable. I know the situation is complicated with me being your boss. But I also don't want to pretend I don't feel something here." Simone thought carefully before responding. She did feel something too. A connection that went beyond gratitude, beyond circumstance. Harrison made her feel seen and valued. He made her laugh. He made her think about the future with hope instead of fear. I feel something too, she admitted. But you're right, it's complicated. Can we take it slow? Keep getting to know each other without putting pressure on it? Absolutely. Slow is good. Slow is smart. I just wanted you to know where I stand. I appreciate that. And Harrison? I'm glad you stopped your car that night. So am I, Simone. So am I. He left, and Simone went inside, leaning against the closed door with a smile on her face. Her grandmother's quilt was draped over the couch and she picked it up, holding it close. Grandma, she whispered, I think something good is happening. Something really good. Thank you for teaching me to accept kindness. Thank you for this quilt that kept me going. I think you'd like him. Over the next few weeks, Simone and Harrison continued their Friday dinners. They explored different restaurants, tried new foods, and talked about everything. They discussed books, movies, childhood memories, hopes for the future. They debated silly things like whether pineapple belonged on pizza and serious things like what made a life meaningful. Simone learned that Harrison was funny, often quietly so. He had a dry wit that caught her off guard and made her laugh. She learned he was thoughtful, always remembering small details she'd mentioned in passing. She learned he was generous not just with money but with his time and attention. Harrison learned that Simone was stronger than she knew, that her kindness wasn't weakness but power. He learned she could be funny too, especially when telling stories about difficult patients at work. He learned she was loyal, still calling her mother twice a day and visiting every weekend. Their friendship deepened naturally, comfortably. They started texting during the day, sharing funny observations or asking for advice. Harrison would stop by Simone's office just to say hello, and Simone would drop by his office to drop off coffee or share something interesting. The other employees noticed, of course. Patricia mentioned it one day while reviewing schedules with Simone. You and Harrison seem to be getting close, she said casually. Simone felt her face warm. We're friends? Friends is good. Just be careful. Workplace relationships can get complicated, especially when one person is the owner. I know. We're taking things slow. Really slow. Maybe too slow. Patricia smiled. That's probably wise. But for what it's worth, I think you're good for him. He's been different since you started working here. Lighter. More present. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. 2 months after starting her job, Simone felt like she'd truly rebuilt her life. She had meaningful work, financial stability, a safe home, and her mother was improving steadily. And she had Harrison, whose friendship had become one of the most important parts of her life. One Friday evening as they walked through a park after dinner, Harrison stopped under a large oak tree and turned to face her. Simone, I need to tell you something. These past 2 months have been the best I've had in years. You've brought light back into my life. I look forward to seeing you every day. I think about you constantly. And I know we said we'd take things slow, but I need to be honest. I have feelings for you. Real feelings. Simone's breath caught. Harrison. You don't have to say anything yet. I just needed you to know. Whatever happens, whatever you decide, I want you to know that meeting you changed me. You changed everything. Simone looked at this man who'd saved her life in every way that mattered. She thought about his kindness, his patience, his genuine heart. She thought about how she felt when she was with him. Say, happy. Say, I have feelings for you too, she said quietly. I have for a while now. I just didn't know if it was okay to feel that way given everything. It's okay, Harrison said. It's more than okay. He took her hand and they stood there under the oak tree as the sun set, two people who'd found each other at exactly the right moment, when both of them needed someone to believe in again. So what now? Simone asked. Now we keep taking it slow. Keep being honest. Keep showing up for each other. And we see where this goes. I like that plan. They walked back to his car hand in hand, and for the first time since her grandmother died, Simone felt truly complete. She had more than just safety and stability. She had hope. She had connection. She had love beginning to bloom in her heart, tender and new and full of promise. That night, as she got ready for bed, Simone looked at her grandmother's quilt hanging on the wall of her bedroom. She'd framed it beautifully, preserving it as the precious artifact it was. He's a good man, Grandma, she said softly. The kind of man you'd want for me. The kind who leads with kindness. Thank you for teaching me to recognize that. She fell asleep with a smile, dreaming of oak trees and gentle hands and a future that looked brighter than any she'd imagined before. 3 months into working at Blake Industries, Simone's life had transformed in ways she still sometimes couldn't believe. She woke up each morning in her comfortable apartment, went to work she loved, and spent her evenings either with her mother or with Harrison. The contrast to where she'd been just months ago was staggering. Her relationship with Harrison had progressed slowly, just as they'd agreed. They held hands now when they walked together. He kissed her cheek when they said goodbye. They talked on the phone every night before bed, sharing the small moments of their days. It felt natural and right, building a foundation of friendship before romance. One Wednesday afternoon in early spring, Simone was reviewing patient files when her phone rang. It was Beverly, her mother's home health aide. "Simone, don't panic, but I need to talk to you about your mother's bills." Simone's stomach dropped. "What's wrong?" "I thought Harrison's foundation covered everything." They do. But there are new bills. Your mother needs a procedure, a minor surgery to help with her mobility. Insurance approved it, but the copay is substantial. About $8,000. I know that's a lot, and I wanted you to know before the hospital calls. $8,000. Simone's hands trembled. She had savings now, about $3,000 she'd carefully set aside from her paychecks. But $8,000 was impossible. "Okay," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Thank you for telling me, Beverly. I'll figure something out." After hanging up, Simone sat at her desk with her head in her hands. She'd been doing so well. She'd been building her life back. And now this. The fear crept in, the same fear she'd felt when the bills started piling up the first time. What if this was the beginning of another spiral? What if she couldn't handle it? She thought about asking Harrison for help, then immediately dismissed the idea. He'd done too much already. She couldn't keep coming to him with problems. She had to figure this out herself. That evening, instead of meeting Harrison for their usual Wednesday dinner, Simone texted him saying she wasn't feeling well. It wasn't entirely a lie. She felt sick with worry. She spent the night researching payment plans, looking at her budget, trying to find a way to make $8,000 appear. The next day, Patricia called her into her office. Simone went, wondering if she'd somehow found out about the missed dinner, about her distraction at work. "Close the door," Patricia said. Simone did, her heart sinking. Patricia's expression was serious. "Harrison told me about your mother's surgery bills." "He what?" Simone asked, shocked. "I didn't tell him anything." Beverly called him. "The foundation covers ongoing care, but new procedures require approval. He wanted to talk to you about it, but you weren't answering his calls last night." "Simone, why didn't you tell him about this?" Simone sank into a chair. "Because he's done enough. I can't keep asking for help. I have to handle things myself." Patricia's expression softened. "I understand pride, I really do. But there's a difference between pride and foolish independence. Harrison cares about you. Not just as an employee but as someone important to him. Shutting him out hurts him. I don't want to be a burden." "You're not a burden. You're someone he wants to help. There's a difference. Come with me." "He's waiting in his office." Simone followed Patricia down the hall to Harrison's office on the top floor. He was standing by the window when they entered, looking out over the city. He turned when he heard them, and his eyes immediately found Simone. "Thank you, Patricia," he said quietly. Patricia nodded and left, closing the door behind her. "I'm sorry," Simone started, but Harrison held up a hand. "Don't apologize. Just talk to me." "Why didn't you tell me about the surgery?" "Because you've already done so much. I didn't want to be that person who always needs saving." Harrison walked over and gently took her hands. "Simone, listen to me. The foundation exists specifically for situations like this. Your mother needs surgery. The foundation will cover it. That's not me bailing you out. That's the system working exactly as it's supposed to." But what? You think accepting help makes you weak? You think asking for support means you're failing? That's not true. We all need help sometimes. I needed help when my mother was sick. I had money, but I needed emotional support and I was too proud to ask for it. I don't want you making my mistakes." Simone's eyes filled with tears. "I'm scared. I'm scared that if I keep needing help, you'll get tired of me. That everyone will get tired of me." "I'm not going to get tired of you," Harrison said firmly. "I'm going to be here. For the good times and the hard times. That's what caring about someone means. Let me do this. Please." The please broke her. Simone nodded, tears falling freely. "Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry I shut you out." "Don't be sorry. Just promise me you'll talk to me when you're worried about something. We're building something here, you and me. It only works if we're honest with each other." "I promise," Simone whispered. Harrison pulled her into a gentle hug, and Simone rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, feeling his warmth. This was real. It was real. And he wasn't going anywhere. Later that day, Harrison called Simone into his office again. This time, his expression was different. Excited, almost nervous. "I have something to show you," he said, pulling up a document on his computer. "I've been working on this for a few weeks. I wanted to wait for the right time, but after today I think now is right." He turned the screen so Simone could see. It was a detailed plan for a new program through his foundation, the Ruth Jefferson Medical Assistance Initiative. Simone stared at the screen, reading the outline. The program would specifically help families dealing with stroke recovery costs. It would cover not just bills but also therapy, equipment, home modifications, and caregiver support. "You're naming it after my mother?" Simone asked in disbelief. "Your mother's situation opened my eyes to a specific need that wasn't being addressed. Stroke survivors and their families face unique challenges. This program will help. And yes, I'm naming it after her because she matters. You matter. Your story matters. Harrison, I don't even have words." "You don't need words. Just accept it." The program launches next month. We've already identified 50 families who will qualify for immediate assistance. Your mother's surgery will be the first one we cover under the new initiative. Simone couldn't speak. She could only nod as tears streamed down her face. Harrison came around the desk and knelt beside her chair, taking her hands. "Simone, I need you to understand something. Helping your mother, it's not charity. It's not me being a white knight or you being a damsel in distress. It's me recognizing that life is hard and we all need support sometimes. It's me having resources and choosing to use them to make things better. It's me caring about you so much that your pain becomes my pain, and your joy becomes my joy. I care about you too," Simone said through tears. "So much it scares me sometimes." "Don't be scared. Just be here. Be present. Let me care for you and you care for me. That's all I ask." "Okay," Simone agreed. "Okay." That evening, after work, Harrison drove Simone to see her mother. He wanted to tell Ruth about the program personally. When they arrived, Ruth was in good spirits, excited to see them both. Harrison sat down beside her wheelchair and explained the new initiative. He showed her the brochure he'd had designed, complete with her name prominently displayed. Ruth's eyes widened and she looked at Simone in shock. "It's real, Mama," Simone said. "Your name is going to help so many families. People are going to get the care they need because of you." Ruth's good hand flew to her heart and tears rolled down her face. She reached for Harrison's hand and held it tightly, then managed to speak, her words slow but clear. "Thank you. God bless you. No, Mrs. Jefferson. Thank you. Thank you for raising a daughter who taught me what real strength looks like. Thank you for showing me that some things matter more than money. You've blessed me." The three of them sat together for a long time talking about the surgery, the program, and the future. Beverly joined them, and when she heard about the initiative, she cried too. On the drive home, Simone was quiet. Finally she spoke. "I don't know how to hold all this gratitude. It's too big. I feel like my heart can't contain it." "Then let it overflow," Harrison said. "Let it spill over into everything you do. That's how gratitude works. It changes you and then you change others." "Is that what happened to you? After your mother died?" "Eventually, yes. It took time, but eventually I realized that my grief could become something useful. My pain could become purpose. That's what you've done too. Your struggle made you compassionate. Your experience made you wise. That's powerful." Simone reached over and took his hand. "I'm falling in love with you," she said softly. "I thought you should know." Harrison pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face her. His eyes were bright with emotion. "I'm already in love with you," he said. "I have been for weeks. I just didn't want to say it and scare you off." "You're not going to scare me off. I'm here. I'm staying." He cupped her face gently and kissed her. It was their first real kiss, and it was soft and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. "This is happening, isn't it?" Simone asked. "This is real." "This is very real," Harrison confirmed. "And Simone? I'm all in. Completely. Whatever comes next, we face it together." "Together," Simone agreed. "I like the sound of that." They drove back to her apartment holding hands, both of them feeling like they'd crossed some invisible threshold. They weren't just friends anymore. They weren't just dating. They were building something real and lasting, something that had started with a quilt on a cold sidewalk and had grown into love. That night, Simone called her mother to say goodnight. Ruth's voice was stronger than it had been in months. "Happy, baby?" Ruth asked. "So happy, Mama. So happy." "Good. You deserve happy. You deserve love." So do you, Mama. And you're getting it. Harrison's program is going to change your life. Already changed, Ruth said. The day he found you, everything changed. After hanging up, Simone stood by her bedroom window looking out at the city lights. She thought about how much had changed in just a few months. She thought about the girl who'd been clutching a quilt on a sidewalk, begging not to lose the last thing she had. That girl was still part of her, would always be part of her story. But she wasn't defined by that moment anymore. Now she was defined by what came after. By her resilience. By her capacity to accept help and give back. By her growing love for a man who saw her completely and loved her anyway. She pulled out her phone and texted Harrison, "Thank you for everything. For seeing me. For helping me. For loving me." His response came immediately, "Thank you for letting me. For trusting me. For loving me back. Sweet dreams, Simone." She went to sleep that night feeling complete in a way she'd never felt before. Not because someone had saved her, but because someone had seen her worth and helped her save herself. That made all the difference. Spring turned to early summer, and Simone's life continued to blossom. The Ruth Jefferson Medical Assistance Initiative launched with a celebration at Blake Industries. Over 200 people attended, including 50 families who would benefit from the program. Ruth herself was there, dressed in a beautiful maroon dress that Simone had bought for the occasion. Harrison gave a speech about why the program mattered, about second chances and community support. Then he called Simone to the stage. "I want to introduce you to someone special," Harrison said into the microphone. "Simone Jefferson is the nurse coordinator at our wellness center. She's also the inspiration for this program. Simone, would you say a few words?" Simone hadn't prepared anything. She walked to the microphone on shaking legs, looked out at the crowd, and spoke from her heart. "6 months ago I was homeless," she said, and the room went completely silent. "I'd lost everything trying to save my mother. I was on the street with nothing but my grandmother's quilt, and I thought my life was over. Then Harrison Blake stopped his car and changed everything." She paused, collecting herself. "But here's what I want you to know. He didn't just give me money or a job. He gave me dignity. He gave me hope. He showed me that kindness still exists in this world. And now, through this program, he's giving that same gift to 50 other families. If you're one of those families, please know that you matter. Your struggle matters. And you're not alone anymore." The applause was deafening. People stood, some crying, all moved. Harrison came to Simone's side and took her hand, and together they accepted the gratitude of the crowd. After the event, as people mingled and celebrated, Harrison pulled Simone aside to a quiet corner. "That was incredibly brave," he said. "Sharing your story like that. It felt important. People need to know they're not alone in their struggles. You're amazing, you know that?" Simone smiled. "You might be a little biased." "Completely biased," Harrison agreed. "And I don't care. Simone, there's something I want to ask you." He looked nervous, which was unusual for him. Simone's heart beat faster. "I know we've been taking things slow and that's been good. But I don't want slow anymore. I want to be with you completely, officially. I want everyone to know that you're mine and I'm yours. Will you be my girlfriend? Actually, more than that. Will you be my partner? In life, not just in this moment." Simone felt joy bubble up inside her. "Yes. Absolutely yes." They kissed right there in front of everyone and the room erupted in cheers. Patricia, watching from across the room, smiled knowingly. Beverly, standing with Ruth, clapped and laughed. Even the usually serious program recipients seemed delighted by the obvious love between the two people who'd made this day possible. Later that evening, Harrison took Simone to a rooftop restaurant with views of the entire city. They sat close together, sharing dessert and watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "I want to tell you about my dreams," Harrison said. "Real dreams, not business goals." "I'm listening." "I dream about having a family someday. Kids running around, making noise, bringing life to my empty house. I dream about growing old with someone who knows me completely and loves me. Anyway, I dream about making a difference that lasts beyond my lifetime." He turned to look at her. "And lately, in all those dreams, I see you." Simone's eyes filled with happy tears. "I see you in my dreams too. I dream about being a nurse practitioner, about having my own practice someday where I can help people the way you helped me. I dream about my mother getting stronger, about having Sunday dinners with family. And I dream about love that's real and lasting, not just romance but partnership." "We can build all of that," Harrison said. "Together." "Together," Simone echoed. Over the next few weeks, their relationship deepened in countless small ways. Harrison spent more time at Simone's apartment, bringing groceries and cooking dinner together. Simone kept a toothbrush and change of clothes at Harrison's house. They developed routines, inside jokes, and a comfortable intimacy that felt like coming home. One Saturday morning, Harrison picked Simone up early. "Where are we going?" she asked, still sleepy. "You'll see. Trust me." He drove them out of the city to a large property surrounded by trees. A for sale sign stood at the entrance. Harrison parked and led Simone down a path to a beautiful clearing where a house stood, modern but warm, with large windows and a wraparound porch. "What is this?" Simone asked. "A possibility," Harrison said. "I've been thinking about selling my current house. It's too big, too empty, too much a reminder of being alone. I saw this place last week and fell in love with it. It's perfect for a family. Perfect for a life. I wanted you to see it because..." He paused. "Because I'm thinking about our future. About what we could build together." Simone walked around the property, imagining. A garden here. Kids playing there. Sunday dinners on that porch. It was perfect. "I love it," she said. "But Harrison, we've only been officially together for a few weeks." "I know. And I'm not asking you to move in tomorrow. I'm just showing you that I'm serious. That I'm planning for us, thinking long term. When you're ready, whenever that is, I want this to be ours, not just mine." Simone walked over and wrapped her arms around him. "I'm serious too. And I'm ready sooner than you might think. These past months with you have been the happiest of my life. I don't want to waste time being cautious when I know what I want." "What do you want?" "You. This. A future where we're partners in everything. Where we support each other's dreams and build something beautiful together." Harrison held her close. "Then let's do it. Let's build it." They spent the rest of the morning exploring the property, making plans, dreaming out loud. By the time they left, Harrison had called his real estate agent to make an offer. That evening, they visited Ruth together to share the news. Ruth's recovery had been remarkable since the surgery. She was speaking more clearly, moving more easily, and her spirits were high. "Mama, Harrison and I are together," Simone said. "Like really together. He's my boyfriend. We're serious about each other." Ruth looked at Harrison, then at her daughter, and smiled wide. "I know. I see. He's good for you. You're good for him. We're thinking about the future, Mama. About building a life together." Ruth reached for both their hands. "Love is a gift. Don't waste it. Don't wait. Life is too short. Be happy now." Her words were simple but profound. Simone realized her mother was right. She'd wasted so much time being afraid, being cautious, holding back. But life was uncertain. The only guarantee was this moment, this day, this love right in front of her. "You're right, Mama," Simone said. "We're going to be happy. Starting now." Over the following weeks, things moved quickly but felt right. Harrison bought the property. He and Simone spent weekends there, planning renovations, choosing colors, making it theirs. Patricia gave Simone her blessing, reminding her to keep professional and personal life separate at work but supporting the relationship completely. 3 months into their official relationship, Harrison surprised Simone with a trip. "Just a weekend away," he said, "to celebrate." They drove to a beach town 3 hours from the city, checked into a charming bed and breakfast, and spent 2 days walking on the sand, eating good food and talking for hours. On their last evening, they sat on the beach watching the sunset. Harrison seemed nervous again, which Simone had learned meant something important was coming. "I love you," he said suddenly. "I know I've said it before, but I need you to really hear it. I love you completely. Your strength, your kindness, your laugh, your heart. I love how you care for your mother and your patience. I love how you've rebuilt your life with such grace. I love you, Simone Jefferson." "I love you too," Simone said, tears in her eyes. "I love you so much it sometimes scares me how much." "Don't be scared. Just love me. Let me love you. And let's see where this takes us." They kissed as the sun dipped below the horizon, and Simone felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. All the pain, all the struggle, all the fear had led her here, to this moment, to this man, to this love. That night, lying in bed in their cozy room, Harrison held Simone close. "Thank you," he whispered into the darkness. "For what?" "For trusting me that night on the sidewalk. For accepting my help. For letting me into your life. For loving me back. You've given me more than you know. You've given me everything," Simone said. "You gave me my life back. You gave me hope and love and a future. I'll spend the rest of my life being grateful for you. And I'll spend the rest of mine making sure you never regret saying yes to me." They fell asleep wrapped in each other's arms, both of them dreaming of the future they were building together. A future that looked bright and full of love, built on a foundation of kindness and trust and genuine partnership. The next morning, driving back to the city, Simone called her mother. "Mama, I think he might be the one," she said. Ruth's laugh came through the phone, clear and happy. "I knew that the first time I saw you two together. He looks at you like you're the sun. And you look at him the same way. That's love, baby. Real love. It is, isn't it? It is. Hold on to it. Build on it. Let it grow. I will, Mama. I promise." Simone hung up and reached for Harrison's hand. He squeezed it gently and they drove home in comfortable silence, both of them content in the knowledge that they'd found something rare and precious. A love worth fighting for, worth building on, worth believing in completely. 6 months into their relationship, Harrison asked Simone to attend a charity gala with him. It was a big event, he explained, with all of the city's business leaders, philanthropists, and influential people. He'd been attending alone for years, but this year he wanted her by his side. "It's going to be formal," Harrison warned. "Lots of small talk, networking speeches. Are you okay with that?" "I'm okay with it," Simone said, though she felt nervous. "I want to be part of your world. You are part of my world. You're the best part." The week before the gala, Harrison took Simone shopping. He brought her to an upscale boutique where a personal stylist helped her choose a gown. Simone tried on several dresses before finding the perfect one. A floor-length red gown that fit her beautifully, elegant but not too flashy. "You look stunning," Harrison said when she emerged from the dressing room. "Are you sure? It feels very fancy." "It's perfect. You're perfect." The night of the gala, Simone spent extra time getting ready. She styled her hair in soft curls, did her makeup carefully, and put on the red dress. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She looked confident, sophisticated, beautiful. Harrison picked her up at 7, looking handsome in a black tuxedo. His eyes widened when he saw her. "Wow," he breathed. "Simone, you're breathtaking." "Thank you. You look pretty good yourself." The gala was held at the city's grand ballroom, a stunning space with crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and elaborate decorations. Simone felt like she'd stepped into a movie. Everywhere she looked, people wore expensive clothes and jewelry, spoke in confident voices, and moved through the room with ease. Harrison kept his hand on the small of her back, guiding her through the crowd. He introduced her to person after person. Business owners, doctors, lawyers, politicians. Each time, he said the same thing with pride clear in his voice. "This is Simone Jefferson, my girlfriend. She's a nurse coordinator at Blake Industries." Most people were genuinely warm and welcoming. They asked Simone about her work, listened when she talked about the wellness center, and seemed impressed by her knowledge and passion. A few were clearly surprised by her presence, by the fact that Harrison Blake had brought a date, but their surprise quickly turned to acceptance. During dinner, Simone sat between Harrison and a woman named Margaret Chin, a prominent surgeon and hospital administrator. "So how did you and Harrison meet?" Margaret asked. Simone glanced at Harrison, who nodded slightly. They talked about how much to share. "We met during a difficult time in my life," Simone said honestly. "Harrison helped me when I needed it most. He gave me a job and a chance to rebuild. We became friends first, then something more." "That sounds like Harrison," Margaret said warmly. "He's one of the most genuinely kind people I know. His foundation does incredible work." "The Ruth Jefferson Medical Assistance Initiative?" Simone asked. "Exactly. We're partnering with his foundation at my hospital. It's already made a huge difference for our stroke patients." "That program is named after my mother," Simone said. Margaret's eyes widened. "Really? Then you must be so proud. That program is changing lives." "I am proud of the program and of Harrison for creating it." Harrison, overhearing, squeezed her hand under the table. The rest of dinner passed pleasantly, with good food and better conversation. Simone found herself relaxing, enjoying the evening, feeling like she belonged. After dinner there were speeches. The event was raising money for children's education, a cause Harrison supported strongly. When the organizer asked Harrison to say a few words, he stood and walked to the podium with confidence. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and for your generous support of this important cause. I want to talk briefly about second chances. We often think of education as a first chance, an initial opportunity for children to build their futures. But for many kids, especially those from struggling families, education is actually a second chance. It's a way out of difficult circumstances, a path to something better." He paused, looking directly at Simone. "I learned about second chances recently from someone very special. Someone who faced incredible hardship but never gave up on herself. Someone who accepted help with grace and turned that help into purpose. Simone, would you stand?" Simone's heart pounded as she stood. Every eye in the room turned to her. This is Simone Jefferson, my girlfriend and my inspiration. She reminds me daily why this work matters, why giving people chances and resources and hope changes everything. So when you make your donations tonight, remember that you're not just funding programs. You're giving kids like Simone once was a chance to become the amazing person she is now. The room erupted in applause. Simone felt tears threaten but blinked them back, smiling at Harrison across the room. He smiled back, and the love in his eyes was so obvious that several people nearby sighed happily. After the speeches, during the dancing portion of the evening, Harrison led Simone onto the floor. "Was that okay?" he asked as they swayed to the music. "Calling you out like that?" "It was more than okay. It was perfect. Thank you for being proud of me. I'm beyond proud of you. You're the strongest person I know." They danced close and Simone felt like she was floating. This was her life now. Charity galas and beautiful dresses and a man who loved her publicly and privately. It was so far from that cold sidewalk, so impossibly different. "What are you thinking?" Harrison asked. "I'm thinking about how far I've come. How different everything is now. Do you ever regret it? Meeting me that way, being rescued?" "Never. Not for a second. That night was the lowest point of my life, but it was also the turning point. Everything good came from that moment." "Everything good came from you saying yes," Harrison corrected. "You could have refused my help. You could have stayed proud and scared. But you didn't. You accepted grace, and that changed everything." As they danced, other couples joined them on the floor. Patricia appeared with her husband. Margaret Chin danced with a man Simone assumed was her partner. The room filled with movement and music and joy. Near the end of the evening, an older gentleman approached them. He introduced himself as Walter Sterling, one of the city's biggest philanthropists. "Harrison, I wanted to compliment you on your speech and your foundation. The Ruth Jefferson Initiative is exactly the kind of focused, meaningful work that creates real change. I'd like to discuss a partnership." "I'd welcome that conversation, Walter." "Thank you." Walter turned to Simone. "And you, young lady, are clearly special. Harrison has been alone too long. It's good to see him happy." "Thank you, sir. He makes me happy too." After Walter walked away, Harrison laughed softly. "Walter Sterling wants to partner with my foundation. Do you know what that means? He could double or triple our capacity to help families." "That's wonderful," Simone said. "Your work is going to reach so many more people." "Our work," Harrison corrected. "You're part of this, Simone. The initiative exists because of you. Every family we help, it's partly your doing." On the drive home, Simone was quiet, processing the evening. "What's on your mind?" Harrison asked. "I'm thinking about belonging. For so long I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. Not on the streets, obviously. But also not in my old life after I lost everything. I was just floating. But tonight at that gala with you, I felt like I belonged. Not because of the fancy clothes or the nice venue, but because you were proud to have me there. Because people accepted me. Because I was part of something." "You belong with me," Harrison said firmly. "Always. In every space, every situation, every moment. You belong." They arrived at Harrison's house, the one he'd been slowly moving out of as he prepared to transition to the new property. Simone had started keeping more things there, slowly merging their lives. Inside, Harrison poured them wine, and they sat on the couch, still dressed in their gala finery. "I have something for you," Harrison said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Simone's breath caught. "Was this?" "It's not what you think," Harrison said quickly, reading her expression. "Not yet. But soon. This is something else." He opened the box to reveal a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant shaped like a quilt square. "Oh, Harrison," Simone breathed. "I had it made for you. It's a replica of one of the patches from your grandmother's quilt. The blue one with white stars. I wanted you to have something that reminds you of where you came from and how far you've come." Simone touched the pendant with trembling fingers. "It's perfect. Will you put it on me?" Harrison fastened the necklace around her neck, and Simone looked at herself in the mirror above the fireplace. The pendant rested right over her heart. "I'll wear it always," she said. "Good. Because you should never forget that you're strong enough to survive anything. You proved that." They spent the rest of the evening talking about the gala, about the people they'd met, about Walter Sterling's potential partnership. But underneath it all, Simone kept touching the pendant, feeling its weight, remembering. Later, as she got ready for bed, Simone called her mother. "Mama, tonight was amazing. I went to a fancy gala with Harrison. I wore a beautiful dress. I met important people. and I belonged there. I really belonged. Of course you did, Ruth said, her words coming easier now after months of therapy. You belong anywhere you choose to be. You're smart, kind, and strong. Never forget that. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow is another beautiful day. Simone hung up and crawled into bed next to Harrison. He pulled her close and she rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Thank you for tonight, she whispered. For everything. Thank you for being brave enough to be by my side. For being yourself so completely. You're extraordinary, Simone. She fell asleep wrapped in his arms, the necklace pendant cool against her skin, a reminder of her grandmother's love and her own strength. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new moments to build on what they'd created together. But tonight, she just rested in gratitude and love, knowing she'd found her place in the world. Right here, right now, with this man who saw her completely and loved her anyway. If this story is touching your heart, don't just read and scroll. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss an update on Simone and Harrison's journey. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a moment that changed your entire life? Have you ever accepted help that transformed everything? Let us know. Your story matters too. Fall arrived, bringing cooler temperatures and changing leaves. Simone and Harrison had been together officially for 9 months, and unofficially it felt like a lifetime. They'd moved into the new house together 3 weeks earlier, and Simone woke up every morning amazed that this was her life. The house had become a home. Simone's grandmother's quilt hung prominently in the living room, professionally framed and lit. Photos of Ruth, of Simone's childhood, of Harrison's mother, of the two of them together filled the walls. The kitchen smelled of coffee in the mornings and home-cooked meals in the evenings. It was everything Simone had dreamed of and more. One Saturday morning, Harrison was unusually quiet at breakfast. He kept looking at Simone with an expression she couldn't quite read. Finally, she set down her coffee and looked at him directly. What's going on? You're acting strange. Am I that obvious? You are. Talk to me. Harrison took a deep breath. I want to ask you about your dreams. The ones you mentioned months ago about becoming a nurse practitioner, having your own practice. Do you still want that? Of course. But it takes time. I need to go back to school, get certified, save money to start a practice. What if you didn't have to wait? What if you could start now? Simone looked at him carefully. What do you mean? Harrison pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Inside were building plans, financial projections, and a business proposal for a medical practice. I've been working on this for months, Harrison said. With Patricia's help. We want to open a community clinic, separate from Blake Industries but supported by the foundation. Free or low-cost care for people who can't afford it otherwise. We need someone to run it, someone who understands what it's like to need help and can provide care with compassion. We need you, Simone. Simone stared at the documents. Harrison, this is incredible. But I'm not a nurse practitioner yet. I don't have the credentials. We'll pay for you to get them. You'll start school in January, and the clinic will open in 2 years when you're certified. In the meantime, you'll help design the clinic, hire staff, develop programs. This is your dream, Simone. Let me help you build it. Simone felt tears of joy and disbelief. You're serious about this? Completely serious. I've already secured the building, right in the neighborhood where you grew up. The community needs this. You're the perfect person to create it. Simone stood up and walked around the table, climbing into Harrison's lap and wrapping her arms around his neck. Yes, she said. Yes to all of it. Thank you for believing in me. Always, Harrison said, holding her close. I'll always believe in you. They spent the rest of the morning going through the plans in detail. The clinic would have exam rooms, a small pharmacy, a counseling area, and a community education space. It would accept insurance but also offer sliding scale fees for uninsured patients. The Ruth Jefferson Medical Assistance Initiative would cover costs for families who couldn't pay anything. It's perfect, Simone said. It's everything I wanted but didn't know how to ask for. You don't have to ask. I want to give you the world, Simone. This is just the beginning. Over the following weeks, Simone applied to nurse practitioner programs and was accepted into a highly regarded one that offered evening and weekend classes so she could continue working. Harrison supported every step of the process, helping her study, encouraging her when she felt overwhelmed, celebrating every small victory. One evening in late October, Harrison came home with another surprise. Pack a bag, he said. We're going away for a long weekend. Where? You'll see. Trust me. He drove them to the mountains to a cabin he'd rented overlooking a pristine lake. The fall colors were at their peak, and the view took Simone's breath away. "This is gorgeous," she said as they carried their bags inside. "I wanted somewhere quiet where we could talk without distractions. Where we could just be us." That evening they cooked dinner together, drank wine, and sat on the porch watching the sun set over the lake. The air was crisp and cool, perfect for bundling up in blankets and being close. "Simone, I want to talk about the future," Harrison said. "Our future." "Okay," Simone said, her heart beating faster. "These past 9 months with you have been the best of my life. You've made me laugh, challenged me to be better, shown me what real love looks like. I can't imagine my life without you anymore. I don't want to imagine it." He set down his wine glass and turned to face her fully. "I know we've talked about building a future together, about the clinic and the house and all our plans. But I want to make it official. I want commitment and partnership and everything that comes with that. I want—" He paused, and Simone saw something that looked almost like fear flicker across his face. "What is it?" she asked gently. "You can tell me anything." "I want to ask you to marry me," Harrison said, the words coming out in a rush. "But I'm terrified you'll think it's too soon, or that I'm being impulsive, or that you'll say no." Simone felt tears spring to her eyes. "Harrison. Wait, let me finish. I know 9 months might seem fast to some people. But when you know, you know. And I know, Simone. I know you're the person I want to wake up next to for the rest of my life. I know you're the person I want to build dreams with and face challenges with. I know you're my partner in every sense of the word." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box, opening it to reveal a simple but beautiful ring with a single diamond. "I'm not going to kneel and make this into a big production. I'm just going to ask you honestly as one person to another. Simone Jefferson, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my family?" Simone was crying openly now. She looked at this man who'd saved her life in every way that mattered, who'd believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself, who'd shown her what love looked like in action rather than just words. "Yes," she said clearly. "Yes, I'll marry you. Absolutely yes." Harrison's face broke into the biggest smile she'd ever seen. He slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. Then he pulled her into his arms and kissed her deeply, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. "I love you," Harrison said against her lips. "So much. More than I knew it was possible to love someone. I love you too. I'm going to be your wife. We're going to be married. I can't believe this is real." "It's real. You're real. We're real. And we're going to have an amazing life together." They stayed up late that night talking about wedding plans, about their future, about everything and nothing. They called Ruth, who cried tears of joy and told them she'd known this was coming. They called Patricia, who laughed and said it was about time. They called Beverly, who promised to help Ruth plan the perfect outfit for the wedding. The next morning they hiked around the lake, holding hands, talking easily, both of them wearing matching smiles. Simone kept looking at the ring on her finger, still not quite believing it was real. "When should we get married?" Harrison asked. "Soon," Simone said. "I don't want a long engagement. I want to be your wife." "How soon is soon?" "Spring? That gives us 6 months to plan. Nothing too fancy, just family and close friends. Somewhere meaningful." "I have an idea," Harrison said. "What if we get married at the new house? In the backyard? We could have a tent, keep it small and intimate. Just the people who matter most." "I love that idea. Our house. Our home. The place where we're building our life. It's perfect." They spent the rest of the weekend planning, dreaming, and celebrating their engagement. When they drove home Sunday evening, Simone felt like she was floating. Her life had become more beautiful than any story she could have imagined. On Monday morning, when Simone arrived at work, the wellness center staff had decorated her office with congratulations signs. Patricia hugged her tightly. "I'm so happy for you both," Patricia said. "You're perfect together." "Thank you. And thank you for keeping his secret. He said you helped him plan the proposal. He wanted it to be perfect. He was so nervous, but I told him you'd say yes. Anyone can see how much you two love each other." That afternoon, Harrison stopped by the wellness center to see Simone. He was immediately surrounded by staff offering congratulations. He accepted them all with grace, but his eyes kept finding Simone across the room. Later, in her office with the door closed, he pulled her close. "How are you feeling, Mrs. Blake-to-be?" "Deliriously happy. Also a little overwhelmed. I can't believe I'm going to be married. I can't believe this is my life." "Believe it? You deserve every bit of happiness that comes your way. So do you, Harrison. You deserve to be loved completely." I am loved completely. By you. That's all I need. Over the next several weeks, Simone threw herself into wedding planning while also managing work and her new classes. It was a lot to juggle, but she loved every minute of it. She chose a simple white dress with a blue sash as a nod to her grandmother's quilt. Harrison arranged for a small ceremony in their backyard with a tent, flowers, and a string quartet. They invited only 50 people, closest friends, colleagues, and family. Ruth's recovery continued to progress. She was walking with a cane now and speaking almost normally. She insisted on helping plan the wedding, offering suggestions and sharing memories of Simone's grandmother's wedding wisdom. Your grandma would be so proud, Ruth told Simone one day as they looked at flower options. She always said you'd find a good man who deserved you. She was right. I wish she could be here to see it. She sees it, baby. She's here in spirit. And she's smiling. 3 months before the wedding, on a cold January evening, Simone came home from her nurse practitioner classes to find Harrison sitting at the kitchen table with papers spread out in front of him. What's all this? She asked. The final plans for your clinic. The Jefferson Community Health Center. We break ground next month. Simone looked at the architectural drawings, the floor plans, the timelines. Her name was on everything. Her dream was becoming real. Harrison, I don't know how to thank you for all of this. You don't have to thank me. Your happiness is my happiness. Your dreams are my dreams. That's what marriage is going to be, supporting each other, believing in each other, building together. I can't wait to marry you, Simone said, tears in her eyes. I can't wait either. But Simone, there's something else I want to talk about. He pulled her down to sit beside him. What would you think about starting a family? After the wedding, after you're settled in your program. Maybe in a year or two. I know we haven't really discussed it, but I think about it sometimes. I think about kids running around this house, about being parents together. Simone felt her heart swell. I think about it too. I want that. I want children with you. I want to build a family. Really? Really? I want everything with you, Harrison. The whole beautiful, messy, wonderful life. They sat together at the kitchen table, looking at plans for the clinic and dreaming about the future. Kids playing in the backyard. Family dinners around the table. Holidays filled with love and laughter. All of it felt possible now, felt real, felt like their story was just beginning. That night, as they got ready for bed, Simone looked at her engagement ring and thought about how much had changed in just over a year. From homeless to homeowner. From hopeless to hopeful. From alone to loved. It was almost too much good fortune to comprehend. But as Harrison wrapped his arms around her and she settled into sleep, Simone realized something important. This wasn't just good fortune or luck. This was the result of choices. Her choice to accept help. Harrison's choice to offer it. Their choice to be honest, vulnerable, and open with each other. Their choice to build something real. Love wasn't just something that happened to you. It was something you created, day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. And she and Harrison were creating something beautiful. 6 months flew by in a blur of wedding preparations, schoolwork, and clinic planning. Simone completed her first semester of the nurse practitioner program with excellent grades. The Jefferson Community Health Center's construction was on schedule. Ruth's health continued to improve. And the wedding date approached quickly. The week before the wedding, Simone's girlfriends threw her a small bridal shower at the wellness center. Patricia organized it, and the room was filled with laughter, good food, and heartfelt advice. Julie, the physical therapist, gave a funny speech about marriage. Beverly came with Ruth, who looked radiant in a green dress. Are you nervous? Patricia asked Simone as they stood together watching the celebration. Not at all, Simone said honestly. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. That's how you know it's right. When there's peace instead of panic. The night before the wedding, Simone stayed at her old apartment, which she'd kept for sentimental reasons and occasional overnight shifts. Harrison stayed at the house, respecting the tradition of not seeing each other before the ceremony. They talked on the phone until midnight, neither wanting to hang up. Tomorrow you become my wife, Harrison said softly. I can't believe how lucky I am. I'm the lucky one. You changed my entire life. We changed each other's lives. That's the beauty of it. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be perfect. Wedding morning dawned clear and beautiful, with spring sunshine and a light breeze. Simone woke early, too excited to sleep. She spent the morning with her mother, Beverly, and Patricia, getting ready. Her dress was simple but elegant, the blue sash a perfect tribute to her grandmother's memory. Ruth cried when she saw Simone fully dressed. You're so beautiful, baby. Your grandmother would be bursting with pride. I feel her here with us, Mama. She is here. Love never really leaves us. At 2 o'clock, guests began arriving at the house. The backyard had been transformed into a beautiful ceremony space with white chairs, flower arrangements in red and blue, and a simple arch where Harrison and Simone would exchange vows. The string quartet played softly as people found their seats. Harrison stood at the front with his best man, his business partner and old college friend named James. He wore a navy suit that made him look handsome and distinguished. He kept checking his watch, eager for the ceremony to begin. At exactly 2:30 the music changed. Simone appeared at the back of the yard with Ruth beside her, walking slowly with her cane but walking independently. Mother and daughter made their way down the aisle together, and every eye watched with tears and smiles. When they reached the front, Ruth hugged Simone tightly and whispered, "Be happy, baby. Be so happy." Then she turned to Harrison and took his hand, placing it in Simone's. "You take care of my girl. She's my whole world." "I will, Mrs. Jefferson. I promise." Ruth took her seat, and Harrison and Simone stood facing each other, holding hands, both of them smiling through happy tears. The officiant, a kind older woman who'd known Harrison's mother, began the ceremony with words about love, partnership, and the journey that had brought them to this moment. "Harrison and Simone have asked to share their own vows," she said. "Harrison, you may begin." Harrison took a deep breath and looked into Simone's eyes. "Simone, the night I met you, I saw someone fighting to hold on to something precious. I saw strength and dignity even in your lowest moment. I saw who you really were underneath the circumstances, and I knew I wanted to know you better. Over these past months, you've shown me what real courage looks like. You've taught me about grace and gratitude. You've made me believe in love again. I promise to stand by you through everything life brings. I promise to support your dreams and celebrate your victories. I promise to love you completely today and every day after. You're my partner, my best friend, and now my wife. I'm the luckiest man alive." Simone wiped her eyes, then began her own vows. "Harrison, you saved my life in every way that matters. You gave me safety when I had none. You gave me opportunity when I'd lost hope. You gave me love when I felt unlovable. But more than that, you gave me dignity. You never made me feel less than or broken or like a project to fix. You saw me as a person with value and potential. You believed in me until I could believe in myself again. I promise to love you fiercely and faithfully. I promise to be your partner in all things. I promise to build our dreams together and face challenges together. You're my home, Harrison. Wherever you are, that's where I belong." There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. The officiant smiled through her own tears. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Harrison, you may kiss your bride." Harrison pulled Simone close and kissed her deeply, and the small crowd erupted in cheers and applause. When they pulled apart, both of them were laughing and crying at once. "Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Blake." They walked back down the aisle together as husband and wife, hands clasped tight, faces glowing with joy. The reception was held under the tent with dinner, dancing, and heartfelt toasts. Patricia gave a speech about watching their love grow. James told funny stories about Harrison's bachelor days. Ruth spoke briefly but powerfully about love conquering all circumstances. As the evening wore on and the sun began to set, Harrison pulled Simone aside from the party. "I have something for you," he said. "One more surprise. Harrison, you've given me everything already. Not quite everything. Come with me." He led her away from the tent, past the house, to the front yard where his car waited. But it wasn't his usual car. It was a different vehicle, decorated with a "Just Married" sign. "Where are we going?" Simone asked, confused but intrigued. "You'll see. Trust me one more time." They drove through the city as the sun set, casting everything in golden light. Simone recognized the route after a few minutes. They were heading downtown toward the area where she'd once lived on the streets. "Harrison, why are we going here?" "You'll see." He pulled up to a street corner that Simone recognized immediately. It was the spot where they'd met, where she'd been sitting with her grandmother's quilt, where the custodian had tried to take it from her. But it looked completely different now. The empty lot beside the building had been transformed into a small park. There were benches, flower beds, a fountain, and trees. And in the center stood a memorial stone with an inscription. Simone got out of the car slowly, walking toward the stone in a daze. Harrison followed, taking her hand. The inscription read, "In memory of those who struggle and those who help. May this space be a reminder that kindness changes everything. Dedicated in honor of Ruth Jefferson and all who fight to survive." Simone stared at the stone, then at the beautiful park, then at Harrison. "You did this?" "I've been working on it for months. I bought the lot, hired designers, created this space. I wanted to transform the place where we met from a site of pain into a place of hope. The city approved it as a memorial garden. It's open to everyone but especially to those who need a safe place to rest. Simone couldn't speak. She looked around the garden, seeing benches where homeless people could sit without being chased away, seeing the fountain providing free water, seeing the beauty created from what had once been emptiness. This is where our story started, Harrison continued. Where you were at your lowest and I was given the gift of helping you. I wanted to honor that moment, honor your strength, honor your grandmother's memory. This garden will help people for years to come, and it exists because of you. Simone threw her arms around Harrison's neck and held him tight, sobbing into his shoulder. I can't believe you did this. It's the most beautiful thing anyone has ever done. You inspire beautiful things, Simone. You always have. They sat on one of the benches together, watching the fountain sparkle in the fading light. Simone thought about that night, about how scared and hopeless she'd felt. She thought about clutching her grandmother's quilt and begging not to lose it. She thought about Harrison stopping his car and changing everything. I have something to tell you, Simone said softly. Something I've been waiting to share until today. Harrison looked at her carefully. What is it? Simone took his hand and placed it on her stomach. I'm pregnant. About 6 weeks along. I found out a week ago, but I wanted to wait until after the wedding to tell you. We're going to have a baby, Harrison. We're going to be parents. Harrison's eyes widened, then filled with tears. We're having a baby? Really? Really? I'm pregnant. We're pregnant. He pulled her into his arms, laughing and crying at the same time. This is the best day of my life. You're my wife and we're having a baby, and I can't believe how much good has come from that one moment when I stopped my car. Everything good came from that moment, Simone agreed. Everything beautiful in my life now connects back to that night and your kindness. They sat together in the memorial garden as darkness fell and stars appeared overhead. Around them, the city continued its busy rhythm, but in this small space there was peace. There was hope. There was love made visible through action. What should we name the baby? Harrison asked, his hand still resting on Simone's stomach. If it's a girl, I want to name her Hope. Because that's what you gave me. Hope for a future. And if it's a boy? You choose. Harrison thought for a moment. Gabriel. It means, God is my strength. Because through all of this, through meeting you and loving you and building this life, I've learned that real strength comes from something bigger than ourselves. It comes from love and faith and community. Hope or Gabriel Blake, Simone said softly. Our baby. Our family. Our future, Harrison added. They stayed in the garden until late, talking about baby names and nursery colors and all the dreams they had for their growing family. They talked about the clinic that would open in a year, about Simone's studies, about Harrison's expanding foundation work. They talked about raising their child with the values that had brought them together. Kindness, gratitude, resilience, and love. Finally, as the night grew late, they stood to leave. Simone took one last look at the memorial stone, at her grandmother's name carved in stone, at this beautiful space created from a place of pain. Thank you, Grandma, she whispered. Thank you for teaching me to accept help. Thank you for the quilt that kept me going. Thank you for leading me to this man who loves me so completely. I'm going to be okay. Better than okay. I'm going to be happy. Harrison wrapped his arm around her waist and they walked back to the car together. As they drove away from the memorial garden toward their home, toward their future, Simone felt complete peace. Her journey had been hard, but it had led her exactly where she needed to be. She was a wife now. Soon she'd be a mother. She was building a career helping others. She had her mother, healthy and improving. She had friends who supported her. And she had Harrison, her partner in everything, the man who'd seen her at her worst and chosen to see her potential instead. That night in their home in their bed, Harrison held Simone close and whispered, I love you, Mrs. Blake. Forever. Forever, Simone agreed. Forever starts now. And as she drifted off to sleep, safe and loved and full of hope, Simone knew with certainty that her story was still being written. But whatever came next, she would face it with courage, with grace, and with the knowledge that kindness had saved her life and love had given her everything. The quilt that had once been all she possessed now hung in their home as a reminder of where she'd been and how far she'd come. Her grandmother's stitches, made with prayers and love, had carried her through the darkest time. And now, those same prayers were being answered in ways more beautiful than she'd ever imagined. Hope was real. Love was powerful. Kindness changed everything. And Simone Jefferson Blake's story was proof that even in our lowest moments, When we feel like we have nothing left, grace can find us. Help can come. Life can transform. And happy endings aren't just fairy tales. Sometimes when we're brave enough to accept help and open enough to love, they're real.
Thanks for watching!